All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barak Dehawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Chakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one, all right, is Should We Label All Christians Terrorists for the Acts of Some? And pretty much, what's being the sentiment that's being pushed upon the Hebrew Israelites as being terrorists and hate group and all that could be echoed to any religion out there, because all religions out there have their form of violence and terrorism that they've committed upon others. And when you look at the Hebrew Israelites as a whole, there really hasn't been any so-called crimes as Christianity and Islam and other religions have committed. So you'll take a group that teaches truth, and you'll take an individual that may have come across the information of the Hebrew Israelites. They may have been a part of it for a short period of time. There may be an individual that jumps from religion to religion, gets a little from here, a little from there, and all of a sudden, this one particular individual or two particular individuals that so-called committed crime, or a handful of individuals that committed crime that may have been a part of this Hebrew Israelite, of the Hebrew Israelites, and all of a sudden, all Hebrew Israelites are like that. But that's the that's the picture that they're painting to the world. Now, whether or not, they say, well, this is not talking about all of them. The consensus is, and by you pushing that out there, the consensus is that all Israelites are the same way, and it doesn't take much for this demonic, stupid public, to because they're stupid as hell anyway, to accept that. So next time they see anything dealing with Hebrew Israelites, they see so-called black men, Latinos, and Native American Indians out there teaching the word, all of a sudden, in the back of their mind, they're labeling it automatically as terrorism, and crimes and hate in a hate group. Why? Because that's the picture that you painted. And you have individuals like this asshole right here, K-Dub, who is a Hebrew Israelite himself, fighting tooth and nail against his own customs, his own identity, his own truth. So I'm gonna let you hear a little bit of what this asshole's saying here, and then we're just gonna get into it.
Vocab echo. We talked about this, so he was all on board. A lot of Hebrew Israelites, though they do not know all Hebrew Israelites, One West Hebrew Israelites do not do this. They do not commit acts of violence. There is an ideology that is taught explicitly in One West camps, and vocab is often taught that, hey, you teach all these guys that are, especially coming out of prison,
Well, first of all, we don't deal with individuals that come out of prison. If there happen to be someone that does, so be it. But we don't go into prisons. We don't correspond with anybody that's in the prisons. We don't teach anybody that's in the prisons. Although they may listen, they may watch. We're not saying that they're exempt from receiving this message if they're Israelites. But the bottom line is that's not what we do. You do have other groups, other Hebrew Israelites groups that correspond with people that are locked up, and if that's what they choose to do, they choose to do it. But you see how it's always going to the negative side of things. Like you could have an Israelite, a Jake, a so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Indian that can get locked up. But once he's locked up, he's always labeled a criminal for life. He could have, turned his life around. He could have had a wake-up call and say, you know what, I'm not living this type of lifestyle anymore. But because he was in the system, he's a criminal for life. And this is what these devils push out there. That once you get locked up, that's it. You're done. You might as well just write this guy up because he's nothing but problems. He's nothing but a criminal. He's nothing but a terrorist. You know, so they'll label every individual Jake that goes to prison, you know, pretty much a career criminal, you know, or a criminal for life. You know, so this is what this guy is saying. But then on one side of his mouth, he's saying, well, not all Hebrew Israelites take to this or believe in this, but you do have, and me and vocab. What about, you know, fuck vocab? And you say, what are you, vocab's puppy? What are you, vocab's clown? His puppet? Everything he does, you got to do? That's why the Lord's going to destroy 2/3 of you, man. The Lord's going to annihilate you guys, man. Yahweh Shemel Shah is going to totally annihilate you. That's right. The Heavenly Father is going to do it through His Son or whatever judgment the Lord has for you. You better look at David Woods and the shit that he's going through, even though that's not phasing him, because he's a heartless individual. He doesn't have any emotion. So he has no soul. That guy has no soul. You know, he's reporting on his brother having OD'd. He's reporting on his mother OD'ing, you know, taking care of his brother. And you don't see a lick of emotion in that dude. He has no soul. You know, he doesn't have a lick of emotion. You know, like some people would be choked up, you know, that their brother or their mother be in that condition. He doesn't have a lick of emotion because that guy is a soulless individual. But let's listen to some more of this asshole.
Out of gangs that one day they're gonna get to destroy the white man, you know, the root of all their problems, right?
And this
a
fucking
lot of those
asshole,
guys,
he's smirking, like that's not true. That is the root of all our problems. You know, I mean, it begins with us because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. But the Lord said He would put this individual over us that will rule over us, and He will rule over us with rigor. Let's go real quick to Deuteronomy 28. But see, this is the thing. These guys, this is just so ridiculous that the root of all the problems is the so-called white men, the Edomites. Yes, they are the root of all the problems. But you also have Israelites out there, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians that are a part of the root of the problem also. Because they're still continuing on in the bullshit that they've been taught, you know, by society. Let's go real quick to Proverbs. Chapter 12, and I believe that's verse 26. It says, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor. Who are the righteous? The Israelites. They're more excellent than his neighbor. Why? Because we have a structure that's given to us by Yahweh Shemel Shai, which consists of laws, statutes, and commandments to guide us and give us the proper instruction. But the way of the wicked seduceth them. And you see the way of the wicked. They have, you know, control over all media, all forms of media. So they're pushing out what they believe in to be the right thing to do, and they pushing that on anyone out there that's within the viewing or hearing audience. You know, and if you don't conform to them, guess what? They'll label you a terrorist or a hate group or something of that nature. So it's pretty much a coerced message that they're sending out there. You either get with the program or you get left behind, so to speak. You know? So let's go from there to Deuteronomy 28 and 47. It says, because thou servest not the Lord thy power with joyfulness and gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, meaning because the Lord gave us everything. He said, Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. So in other words, after the Lord gave us all these benefits, the land gave us everything we needed, we forgot the Lord, we forsook the Lord. And when you read up to the 15th verse, He said, look, these are the statutes, commandments, and judgments you're going to keep. If you keep them, good. If you don't, all these curses are going to come over you and they're going to overtake you. Meaning that there's not going to be a damn thing you could do to stop it. There's not going to be a damn thing you could do to get out of the situation that you're in. And you see that happening time and time again. You know, you have Jakes that think that, you know, when you thought they were about to, you know, get out of the situation they were in, boom, some other mishap happens to where they're right back to square one. And this is a direct cause of the curses in the scriptures, mainly Deuteronomy 28, but there's other scriptures. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. So who sent these enemies against us? The Lord. Why? Because we pissed Him off. So it says we're going to serve Him in what? In hunger and in thirst. If you're hungry, you got to go to them. You make your own food, you still got to go to them for supplies. And in thirst, you want to drink something, you got to go to them. And in nakedness, if you want to put on a suit of clothing, you got to go to them. If you make your own clothing, all the material you get, you got to get from them. And if you don't get it directly from them, let's say you get it from another nation, how do you think they have to ship all this stuff? It all has to go through Esau. Esau's getting a piece of the pie one way or the other. So there's no way around it. It says, and in one of what? All things. So anything that we want to do, we have to go to this devil for. So he has control over everything. So he is the root of all the problem, because he's in control. He has the power to stop everything that's going on and set everything upright. But he's not going to do that. Why? Because they are the wicked. It says, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until you have destroyed thee. And you see that in many slavery movies. You see that in different pictures that are depicting slavery. Where mainly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi had those yokes of iron upon their neck. But you also have pictures of the Taino and different other so-called Indian tribes with, those yoke of irons around their neck also. But predominantly, it was mostly upon Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So these are curses from the Lord upon us. So now let's go back to this asshole.
Don't want to just, they don't, that's not good enough. They want it now. The commercials, I want it now. It's my money. I want it now.
These guys are so fucking corny, man. Their humor is about as funny as a dead baby. But, you notice how he can't go into just speaking about, well, look, they don't all believe in this, but you may have some individuals out there that listen to the message and blah blah blah. He's going into the extreme. Well, the guys in prison, like Hebrew Israelites is the only religion. I hate to use that word, but that's the best I could do for now. Is the only religion that may have an individual that comes out of prison and gets involved with it. There's never no criminal. There's nobody that's ever been arrested or gone to jail that became a Christian and and came into Christianity, and that was it. They don't talk about that. As many criminals out there that you have that are so-called Christians. So should we label all Christians terrorists? Should we label all Christians the same because of the act of some of them? And if the answer to that is no, then why are you doing it to us? Know why you're doing it to us, because you're nothing but the goddamn devil that the Bible speaks of. That's why.
But they want the violence now, right? You have a
yeah, but what evidence do you have that you have these ex-prisoners or ex-convicts that are coming into Israel, right? That are committing these heinous crimes? Where they at? But you see what is on the one hand he's saying, no, not all of, they don't all hold it, but you have these people in prison that you teach, and you know what I'm saying? So that now people that never heard of Israel and watch this devil's this video automatically, oh, you all a bunch of criminals, you all been to prison, you ain't got no jobs. Here it is, you ain't got no jobs, but brothers every week go to the camp. Brothers got to put gas in their car to go to camp. Brothers got to, pay their bills. What do you think? Brothers are just squatting everywhere, and not paying no bills. Like, fuck you, Esau. I ain't paying shit. Just living somewhere free. Just go to a used car lot or brand new car lot. Just take a car and just say, fuck you. I ain't getting no license. I ain't getting no. I'm just going to, I'm doing me. You know what I'm saying? But this is what these dickheads would have the world believe. And the people that are the worst off are the people that are watching these individuals and buying into this shit.
Bunch of unregenerate men, one, trying to keep the laws of God, and then two, you're telling them one day they're going to get to commit the very act.
Unregenerate, like you never had any Israelite man, any so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Indian that was wrongly convicted or a crime was pinned on them and they just happened to be brought into the system, but now he's an unregenerate. That's what the society paints that everyone that goes to prison or gets locked up, they're unregenerate. They're just a criminal. Period. Now, if you didn't do it, you would have never got locked up. That's the sentiment. Not knowing that there's many Jakes in the prison system that are thrown in there because they need a body to pin to a crime to justify their inflated budget. Just like you have a quota that these cops have to make every week, every month. You know? And if they don't make that quota, guess what? They get written up. Because it's about generating money for the state. It's not about justice. It's about generating money for the state. The more money you can generate for the state, the more of a good dog you are. A good watchdog. Let me listen to a little more of this because this fucking guy irks me, man.
Acts of violence, the very thing they want to do.
This guy might be a homo.
And so that's why I'm saying they present an ideology that is, I mean, it fits. I mean, they wonder why so many people join the movement. Well, I mean, hey, maybe this is a huge reason in itself. All right.
Well, first of all, you know, Yahweh Shai said, matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Let's get two scriptures. Let's get John. And this is, you know, I say this is the fault of some of those groups out there that just let anybody in them doors. You know, before you come into this thing, you got to prove yourself. This is not just, you know, you talk about men of the Lord, prophets that are coming into this thing to teach and teach the words of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. You just can't let any old clown off the street into this thing. But you have a lot of the groups out there, they'll accept anybody. They don't scrutinize anything. What did the matter of fact, let's get this. Let's get they're all in the book of John. John, yeah, and then let's go to from there. Let's go to, no, I'm sorry, the other one's in the book of Matthew. Let's go here real quick. Matthew 3 and 8. Matter of fact, I started 7. But when he saw many of the Pharisees, this is dealing with John the Baptist, and Sadducees, so when he saw these Israelites come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who hath warned you to flee from the wrath to come. So how come he didn't just say, welcome my sons, you know, Israel, you know, you Israelites, come on into this thing, you know, just come on in, you know, you Israelites, don't worry about it, just wait in line, you know, I'm baptizing these people, you guys are going next. No, he called them a generation of vipers. It says, bring forth therefore fruits meet for repentance. So you have fruits that are not meet for repentance. So you just can't accept anybody. And this thing, you have to prove yourself to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, you know, to go to the next level. But these guys, they'll just let anybody, and somebody will say, Shalom, you know, Kwam Yashala, put on a garment, and all of a sudden they're in the camp. You don't know nothing about this guy. You don't know where he's been. You don't know what he's done. You know, you don't know what his frame of mind is. You know? And that's why some of these guys that are in leadership positions should not be in those positions. They don't have those skills to lead men. All right, so now let's go back. Go back twice. John 6:44. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. So this is the thing where the Most High has to draw you into this. You know, just like you have these different camps. I mean, I'll speak about ISUPK. I don't know about any other camps, but I know ISUPK for a fact. They'll just let any Israelite off the street just come in to the Passover. As long as you pay your money, you can come in. If you're an Israelite, you can come into the Passover. That's not what the Passover is about. You know, you gotta. It's a change. You know, you eating and drinking the body and blood of the Lord. The scripture said, you do that unworthily, you're gonna be put to death, man. So you helping these people sign their death certificate. You know, you have to understand what you're involved in. You have to understand what the sacrifice of Yahweh Shai is, you know, and not that bullshit pseudo-Christian ideology that they show you in these so-called churches, you know. So moving on from there, John 15 and 16. It says, you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever you shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you. You know, and a lot of times in some of these organizations, you know, of Hebrew Israelites, you know, they don't really put brothers through, you know, the so-called proving grounds, you know, to where you got to do such and such, this, that, and the other, you know, to prove yourself. You know, they let them do whatever the hell they want. That's why they stick around, because they have no responsibilities. You know, now if they had responsibilities and if they had to do, you know, a certain amount of things, you know, as far as the word is concerned, you know, you got to be, you know, you got to be on point. But you know, a lot of them wouldn't last. You know. So now let's go back to this asshole.
And so in the video, Maharaka, I believe that was his name.
And he was cutting vocab, but really he, you know, that was just a waste of time, because all they do is they use your words against you. And notice he got, I just noticed this, he got vocab's book up here, Barack Obama versus the Black Hebrew Israelites. You know, and that's you know what that is? That's a clickbait, pretty much. You know, Barack Obama, what, he came against the Hebrew Israelites? No. You know, when you read this bullshit, I mean, I read a little bit of it. When you read this bullshit, pretty much he's saying, you know, in a roundabout ways, like, how come Barack Obama didn't become a Hebrew Israelite? You know, something along those lines. You know, I'm not quoting it verbatim, but something along those lines, because Barack Obama was in that area where the truth sprang out from. All right. But now, as the title of the lesson is, you know, should we label all Christians terrorists for the acts of some? Now, I got a couple of articles here that I put in the description box. Christianity and violence. Christians have held diverse views towards violence and nonviolence through time. Currently and historically, there have been 4 views and practices within Christianity towards violence and war. So I'm going to just jump down to Christian terrorism. Christian terrorism comprises terrorist acts that are committed by groups or individuals who use Christian motivations or goals as a justification for their actions. So now, should we label every Christian a terrorist because you have some Christians that commit these heinous acts? So why are you trying to label everybody that call themselves a Hebrew Israelite a terrorist? You know? Yeah, these are some good precepts. I'm going to bring these out for what we just went through as far as, you know, scrutinizing individuals before they come into this thing. The brother, up and coming elder Manatazak, by 1 Timothy 5:22, lay hands suddenly on no man, neither be partaker of other men's sins, keep thyself pure. Yeah, so you laying hands suddenly on no man don't mean beating somebody's ass. It means setting them up in a position of authority, you know, or responsibility before he's been proven. The brother Yawasap, 1 Thessalonians 5:21, prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. That's right. Another, again, Elder Manatazakba, Ecclesiasticus 6:7, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. For some man is a friend for his own occasion, and will not abide in the day of thy trouble. That's right. GMS Hawaii, 1 John 4:1, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. That's right. So now, building back on this, we read Christian terrorism comprises terrorist acts that are committed by groups or individuals who use Christian motivations or goals as a justification for their action. So now, should we label all Christians terrorists for the act of some? So how come if we can't do that, how come you do it to us? Well, we know why you do it to us, because you're nothing but the devil that the Bible speaks of. But we, being a spiritual group and understanding these things, you know, we filter it back through the scriptures. 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we're not ignorant of the machinations of the devil, the things that they do, that they craft in their minds, and then they put into effect, you know, when they push it out here, you know, for the public to watch. Because see, they know that they can't stop this. So what they do Instead of trying to stop it, what they do is they slander it. They bear false witness against it. So that the average person, once they get that in their mind, they know that it's hard to get out. It's like a suggestion. We're not saying, but suggestively they're saying that, and that's gonna be something that's gonna be in these people's minds. So whenever someone hears of Hebrew Israelites, first of all they're gonna say black Hebrew Israelites, and second of all they're gonna say that oh you mean that terrorist group, that hate group. You see, never mind the truth that's being taught. Never mind the major exposure that's going on the planet of Esau and his crimes and the other nations. Never mind that. No, they're just a hate group. They're terrorists, so on and so forth. But this is what's expected from the devil. Revelation 12:10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, who accuse them before our power day and night. And that's what they're doing. They're accusing us before the Lord, but they're also putting these false witnesses and slanders against us so that it'll be easier for them to condemn us later on. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice. Matter of fact, 11. And they overcame him by the blood of Yahweh of the Lamb. So this blood of the Lamb, which is the blood of Yahweh Shai, this is why we keep the Passover, because this was the great sacrifice that Yahweh Shai, did for us. You see? And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto the death, because we know that at the end there's going to be a reward for being devoted to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And even more than that, the Spirit of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, is the one that's guiding us. So the elect that make it to the end, that endure all of these hardships, guess what? There's the Spirit of the Lord that was on that individual to endure everything. Not because he's so resilient and because he's so dedicated and devoted. No, the dedication and devotion and resilience all come from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Bottom line. Verse 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And all that you see going on right now with this media coverage of calling us terrorists is just phase one, into demonizing us so that later on they can use this against us. Like they demonize, the David Koresh and that group. I forget the name of the group, but David Koresh was the leader. And what happened? Eventually they rolled on him, burned him down, shot everybody up in there, which they probably didn't get David Koresh because he's an insider. But the bottom line is, they so-called were justified in rolling on them, and the majority of people that were watching said, yeah, see, that's what happens when you come against the government. And that's exactly what they're doing to us. Because Esau, one thing that Esau understands is violence. That's all that their whole thing is. They're not spiritual. They're not rational beings. They are carnal. And they will get carnal. Because the blessing that was given to them was a carnal blessing, which was a sword. All right. Now let's go. Before I read on more, let's see what else we can find here. As with other forms of religious terrorism, Christian terrorists have relied on interpretations of the tenets of their faith, in this case the Bible. Such groups have cited Old Testament and New Testament scriptures to justify violence and killing, or to seek to bring about the end time described in the New Testament. And this is pretty much, when you read this is pretty much the what's the word I'm looking for? To sum it up, pretty much this is what this devil here was saying. The same thing this is saying about these Christian terrorists is the same thing that he's saying about the Hebrew Israelites. So he's pretty much using a textbook slander, so to speak, to paint the narrative that we're just some evil individuals, and then our members come from the prison, and then they commit these heinous acts because they can't wait until the kingdom. Look, if somebody comes to this and they don't have the patience to wait for the Lord and they commit a heinous act, that's on them. That's on them. You can't be responsible for every little thing that every individual does. You can only be responsible for yourself. There was a precept that goes with that. I just can't think of it right now. But that's the bottom line. We can't be responsible for everything that these individuals out here do. Just like so-called Christianity can't be responsible for every act that everybody else out there does. And if they want to put that on us, then Christianity is the biggest terrorist group on the planet. And every time they're put on the spotlight for killing anybody, guess what? They throw in the Muslims. Well, what about the Muslims? Well, no, we ain't talking about that. We're talking about you. Why is it every time the finger is pointed at you, you got to point the finger to somebody else? But now you pointing the finger at us, and we're dealing with it. We're breaking it down. We're showing you how Christianity is more of a terroristic threat than anything on the planet. Supportive slavery, that's another one, And Lord's will, maybe I can go into this. I won't go into that now because that's gonna take it into another direction. But Lord's will, get into that. But now this is here 20 examples of Christian terrorism in modern times. And this was 2019, last year, March 26, almost a year. About 10 months, almost 10 months. Who is a Christian terrorist? It's a question. I accidentally stumbled into a debate a while back in which I was informed that there is no such thing. I watched others offer examples only to be told either that a given example isn't really Christian or that listing the number of examples possible in a tweet proves that there are so few as to be unworthy of discussion. It seemed that a list of just a few examples might be a useful tool. So now when it comes to them, if you just have a handful of examples of these heinous crimes, that's insignificant. You can't really put that on us. But you may have one or maybe two examples, allegedly, of Hebrew Israelites, so-called, that they may have come across this information, that commit some heinous crime, and now the whole nation is guilty. You see the hypocrisy? You see the hypocrisy? And that's why the Lord's going to destroy this place, man, because of the hypocrisy. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on. And then you have those of you out there, you Israelites that run right behind Massa and help forward this thing, like this fucking clown right here, this dickhead right here. Exodus 23:1. Thou shalt not raise a false report, put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. But what do they do time after time? They keep doing the same old shit. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many, to wrest judgment or to wrestle judgment. And that's what they're doing to us. They're trying to get everybody together to wrestle judgment against us. But that's why in the end, the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai is going to vindicate us. Let's go from there to Proverbs chapter 4. And let me see if I can find. And 14. Enter not into the path of the wicked, because that's what they are. They're the wicked, and they following behind Esau. And go not in the way of evil men. And these are evil men. And they know exactly what the vocab knows exactly what he's doing. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. Vocab is nothing but a white supremacist. So-called white supremacist. That's what he is. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. And this is talking about you Israelites. You ain't supposed to be getting involved in that. For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. And this, somebody has to fulfill this. The Most High said his words don't go out void. So who fulfills this? That's dealing with these Edomites and these 2/3 of Israelites, men and women, that help push this bullshit and this agenda of Esau. When the Lord's telling you, don't go in the way of these wicked men, they're going to go anyway. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. And what do you think they're going to spew out? They're going to spew out that vomit, that diarrhea, that's going to try to stain the men of the Lord so that the message could be disregarded. But even in that, the Lord is working, because he's narrowing it down to just who he wants, his elect. No matter what, the elect will not get turned away. Yahweh said, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. But the path of the just is as a shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. And that's a beautiful thing. The way of the wicked is darkness, is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble, because in due time they're going to stumble. That's why Yahweh said, they be blind leaders of the blind, let them alone. For if the blind lead the blind, they shall both fall into a ditch. And that's where they're headed to, that ditch. All right, so let's go back. It says, the term itself, Christian terrorism, is by nature fuzzy and hard to define. Must a terrorist claim a Christian motive, or merely be a Christian or claim Christianity, since some will assert that one who carries out an attack isn't a real Christian, in order to qualify? After all, it's typical to declare a case to be radical Islamic terror as soon as the attacker is profiled as Muslim, see, regardless of motive. See, so, and that's exactly what they're doing to us, the Israelites. Who exactly is a Christian? What exactly is a terror attack? Must it be murder to count? Thankfully, we have some guidelines, albeit incomplete, as the ACLU explains here. The U.S. Patriot Act explains, and this is why they wanted to pass it. This is why they committed such a heinous act. The American government, the international bankers, committed such a heinous act and killed over 3,000 people just to be able to pass this piece of legislation here, because they have an agenda, and anyone that doesn't fit their agenda, guess what? They're coming against them. They're coming with the force of that demonic law, that draconian law upon them. Matter of fact, before we read on, let's go to 2 Ezra 16 and 68. These things are coming, man, and we've been saying this for the longest, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And we were scoffed at, we were mocked, we were laughed at. Now those voices are getting smaller and smaller as each day goes by, and it's being made more and more evident that what we've been saying for the longest, even before the YouTube era, it's finally coming. It's coming down the pike, and it's coming fast. You know what? I'll start at 67. Behold, the Most High himself is the judge. Fear him, because at the end of the day, the Most High is the judge, period. It doesn't matter who's in authority. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter how demonic they are. It doesn't matter how unfair they are. At the end of the day, the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, is the judge, period. And actions are weighed by him, and he's the one that brings forth the sentence and the judgment. It says, leave off from your sins and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. So shall the Most High lead you forth and deliver you from all trouble. Because the trouble is coming. The final stop for trouble will be that mark of the beast, which is the microchip. But prior to this, there's going to be some serious things happening, that are going to be detrimental to you Israelites out here. So let me get a couple of precepts. All right, Revelation 2 and 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And why will they be cast into prison? Because of the testimony that they held. Because of this truth. Because of this word. See? Just show you that it's not going to be no act of violence and none of that shit. It's going to be for the word. That's what the scriptures say. Before we read the next precept, let's go to 1 Peter chapter 5. No, I'm sorry, chapter 4. Chapter 4, verse 4. You know what? I started at 12. Beloved, thinking not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. Yeah, because we know that this is going to happen, because it happened to Yahushua. And we know that Yahushua said that the servant is not greater than his master. So if they did it to Yahushua, they're going to do it to us. They brought slanders and false witnesses against him. They're going to do it to us. But rejoicing as much as you are partakers of Yahushua's suffering. So we're supposed to rejoice, just like the apostles rejoiced when they got beat. You would think that would deter them. Like, man, I don't know about this, man. Fucking these lumps don't feel good. You know, probably some of the men of the Lord probably had eye jammies, busted lips, from getting beat down for the word. But they said, but the scripture say, but rejoice, because they were partakers of Yahushua's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. Because before Yahushua got that glory, he went through hell. And that's why it says that his countenance or his visage was more marred more than any of the sons of men. And we're going to actually see that body in the state that it was in, when it happened. And we're going to mourn, because we're going to actually see the body of Yahushua and the way it looked back then in the kingdom, to show the great sacrifice that our Lord did for us. If you be reproached for the name of Yahushua, happy are ye, for the spirit of glory and of the Most High rested upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. Why? Because they're pushing this slander, because they're speaking evil of the Lord. But on our part, he's glorified, although we may suffer these things. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. And that's the point. So going back, the Lord said, you're going to deliver us from these troubles, and they're going to put us in prison for what? For the testimony of the Lord, not for any heinous crime. Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And you can bank on this. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua spoke it, and we can bank on it. So going back to 2 Ezra 16 and 68, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. And this is dealing with them concentration camps. So now let's go back here, dealing with the U.S. Patriot Act. Explain some of these definitions. In short, the act may be considered terrorism merely for endangering life. If the motive appears to be political and coercive, the act can be intended to directly sway government action, or to have an effect by intimidating the civilian population, and that's what they've done. They created a situation, a false flag situation, and used it to pretty much terrorize the civilian population. The rest of the citizens. That's pretty broad, and could easily include, for instance, someone following people into the bathroom to check if they are transgender, or outing individuals as undocumented immigrants. The code limits the definition to only include illegal activity. Although harassment, for instance, is certainly a crime, much of the anti-LGBT and anti-immigrant activism doesn't currently fall outside legal lines, even if it should. You see, so pretty much they took a paintbrush and painted a broad stripe, on the whole thing. But I'm just going to jump down here. These are examples of Christians that committed heinous crimes. Brenton Harrison Tarrant, the most obvious recent case, and Brenton Harrison Tarrant, he's been charged with a March 2019 attack in New Zealand in which at least 50 Muslims were murdered during prayers. And that's all I'm going to read. You brothers could read the rest. Number 2, Robert Doggett. In April 2015, Robert Doggett, a one-time congressional candidate and self-proclaimed Christian minister, was arrested and charged for plotting to attack a mosque and school. All right? So now, because of these two individuals' acts, should we label all of Christianity terrorists? Old ladies, young ladies, old men, young men, babies that are considered to be Christians because of the act of these people? And if the answer is no, then why would you pin the actions of two individuals or a couple of individuals on the whole organization of the Hebrew Israelites? Unless you have a double standard or unless you're being a goddamn hypocrite. Michael Frederick Griffin. In March 1993, during an anti-abortion protest, Michael Griffin shot Dr. Dade Gunn, an abortion provider, 3 times in the back. According to Slate, he shouted, "Don't kill any more babies." But you're killing him, right? So should this be pinned on all Christians? Paul Jennings Hill. In July 1994, former Presbyterian minister Paul Jennings Hill approached Pensacola Ladies Center, where Dr. John Britton was just arriving. Hill opened fire, first murdering the man who had driven Dr. Brinton to the hospital, James Barrett, then the doctor himself. So should this be pinned on all Christians? Should all Christians be labeled madmen and terrorists because of the act of these people that are Christians and ex-ministers and all of that? Number 5, Eric Rudolph. According to CNN, the first bomb Rudolph set was at the Summer Games in Centennial Olympic Park in Atlanta in July 1996. He would go on to set bombs at 2 abortion clinics and a lesbian nightclub before being caught and charged. He has been connected to the Christian identity movement. Oh, wait a minute. He was connected. So does that mean all Christians go out to do this? Does this mean that this labels all Christians terrorists and that they're going to go bomb lesbian abortion clinics or different, lesbian clubs and abortion clinics and all that? Why not? Why can't we label all Christians by these heinous crimes that your Christians are doing? Scott Philip Roeder. In May, and these all sound like Edomites. In May 2009, George Tiller, a doctor who performed legal abortions past the 21-week gestation mark, was serving as an usher in his church when Scott Roeder entered and shot him in the head, the Guardian reports. So should this individual be, should all this be put on all Christians? The Guardian reports that Tiller had been the subject of such attacks previously when he had been shot in the arm and his clinic had been bombed. Roeder told the jury that he had become a Christian while watching the 700 Club. So this guy was a Christian. Number 7, Rachel Shelley Shannon. Shelley Shannon was one of those who previously carried out a failed or non-fatal attack on George Tiller. She shot him in 1993, as well as carrying out other attacks on clinics where abortions were performed. Let's go to the next one. James Charles Kopp, number 8. Kopp was convicted in 2002 of the 1998 murder of Dr. Bennett Slepian. According to CBS, he maintained that he was innocent of murder, both on the grounds that he meant only to injure and the grounds that he was saving children by separating murderers from weapons of mass destruction. Robert Louis Deere. Let's see. Documents show his religious rhetoric. See, he was another religious fanatic, such as exhortation online to turn to Jesus or burn in hell, and praise of other attacks on doctors who perform abortions, calling the violence God's work. So should all Christians be labeled terrorists because of the action of these individuals? Number 10, Larry McWilliams, a member of a Christian identity group. No need to read no more. He did some kind of crazy shit. John Salvi, number 11. Oh, look, another Christian who carried out violent attacks on abortion clinics. What happened to number 12? Number 13, Patrick Stein, Gavin Wright, and Curtis Allen. Okay, so I guess they lumping 2 here. U.S. News reports that 3 men in Kansas City called themselves the Crusaders which that goes back to what? To Christianity, and plotted to bomb targets, including a mosque and an apartment building housing Somali refugees. So shall all Christians be labeled terrorists for the act of these individuals. Number 14, John Allen Chow. This one may be controversial, but by definition previously discussed, he was a Christian. And you know he did some wicked shit. He killed some people. Let's jump down to 15. The Concerned Christians. Terrorism Research and Analysis Consortium identifies the Concerned Christians as a cult that traveled to Jerusalem in the 90s with an intent to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So should all Christians out there be labeled terrorists because you had Christians that in the name of Christianity bombed Muslims, bombed mosques, bombed abortion clinics, killed people, shot people for their beliefs and what they did? Should all Christians be labeled terrorists? And if the answer to that is no, why would you pin or try to pin the actions of some individuals to the Hebrew Israelites? Because you're a bunch of goddamn hypocrites, that's why. Alexander Bissonnette. Bissonnette reportedly found Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau open arms declaration that Canada welcomed people regardless of religious affiliation to be the last straw. The Globe Mail reports that he fired 48 rounds at the Grand Mosque of Quebec City, killing 6 worshippers and wounding another 17. Online, he posted images lauding Christian crusades against Muslims. Come on, man. Number 17, Varney J. Morrell, Charles Barbie, Robert Berry, and Brian Radigan. 4 men were charged in 1997 with a spree of crimes, including bombing a newspaper office, a bank, and a Planned Parenthood clinic, and robbing banks. Radigan, Christians robbing banks? Goddamn. Radigan was charged only with crimes pertaining to the Planned Parenthood. Let's see. The men were described as members of the Phinehas priesthood, and according to spokesmen, they so-called Christians believed they were carrying out the will of God in domestic terrorism acts. All right, these are all Christian people that are committing these acts. What's up, Vocab? What's up, K-Dub? What's up, James Wood? What's up, Dr. James White, the Edomite? Should all Christians be labeled terrorists because of the actions of some? 18. Clayton Wagner, or Wagner. Clayton Wagner was convicted of sending threatening letters and letters containing a substance intended to be mistaken for anthrax to clinics where abortions were performed. These threats were communicated in the late 2001 for murder, and that he told a fellow anti-abortion activist that he had sent the letters and was targeting 42 abortion industry workers for murder, and that the Holy Spirit the Holy Spirit would let those on his list know they were targeted. Another wacky Christian. Number 19, Bryce Queller. Bryce Queller was charged with making terroristic threats in 2016, and after pleading guilty was sentenced to probation, calling himself a Christian warrior. And number 20, Francis Grady. Surprise, surprise, another Christian extremist attack on abortion clinic. So this is just 20 examples. This is way more examples than you have of so-called Hebrew Israelites committing crimes. So should all of the religion of Christianity be labeled a terroristic group based off of the actions of these 20 people and more? And if the answer to that is no, why do you try to pin that label of terrorism, domestic terrorism, or whatever the case is, on all Hebrew Israelites for the actions of a couple of people? Nothing but hypocrisy. But we understand that that's going to happen because it happened in the past, and it's going to happen now. Yahweh Shai said it best. Let's go to St. John chapter 15 again and verse 20, I believe it is. It says, remember, matter of fact, I started at 18. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. Now, why did the world hate Yahweh Shai? Let's go to St. John, same book, chapter 7, verse 7. The world cannot hate you, but me it hateth, because I testify of it that the works thereof are evil. So if you're testifying against the works of the world that are evil, guess what? You're going to be hated. Why? Let's go real quick to Amos chapter 5, verse 10. They hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. So if you're speaking uprightly, if you have upright conversation, if you're trying to live a righteous life to the best of your ability, you will be hated in a society and in a world that's evil. 1 John 5:19. It says, and we know that we are of the Most High, and the whole world lieth in wickedness. So because the whole world lies in wickedness, and we prophesy against it that it's wicked, we're targets. Because Yahweh Shai said, the world cannot hate you, but me it hated, because I testify of it that the works thereof are evil. So we read in John 15:18, if the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. So it's for the testimony that the men of the Lord hold that they hate. And they have to bring these slanders, these lies, these false witnesses, these false flag attacks to make it seem like we're just some deranged lunatics, so that people will dismiss the message. And this message that we're bringing is the message of the gospel and the message of deliverance to the elect of the nation of Israel. And the only ones that's going to get the message are the elect of the nation of Israel. If you were of the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Because we have a different frame of mind, a different thought pattern than the rest of the world. You know, we're not conforming to this world. We walk in this world. You know, we have to, assimilate into the world and do what we have to do, but we get in and get out of it. We get in the matrix and get out of it. And that's the bottom line. And that's what the Apostle Paul said, using the world is not abusing it. Why? Because this world is temporary, and the things that you see are temporary. But the kingdom that we don't see is everlasting. So it says, remember that the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. And that's why Yahweh Shai's message was not received by many, because only the elect would receive this message. And that's why we pushed that for so long. And nobody was touching on the topic of the elect except for us, because all these other groups were trying to gather all Israelites. If you were an Israelite, didn't matter if who you were. They're just gathering everybody, when the Lord's only looking for his elect. If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had no sin, but now have they no cloak for their sins. And that's what's going on. Jake out here that's hearing his word, they have no more excuses. They have no more cloaks for their sins, because now the Lord is going to make them hold them accountable for what they've heard and what they know. And whether they accept it or not, that's not of our consequence or of our concern. Our concern is to teach the word, and the Lord is the one that's guiding it into the minds of the elect to seal them and to deliver them. So I had another article which I put in the description box. You brothers can go through it. Maybe a brother Spirit will hit him to do a lesson on it. Death toll of Christianity. And this goes all the way back. It brings out all the dirt that these devils have done. When Jake was in rulership, and even later on. All the different terroristic acts of Christianity throughout the ages that could be pinned on all Christians to label them the biggest terrorist organization out there. So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom.